Texans are favored by 1 point.
Yes, they cannot have that kind of performance.
No.
I was listening to NFL Radio, and Charlie Weiss, one of their experts, picked the Panthers because he said they have to win this game. They have to go all out. They're an underdog at home. It's always an embarrassment. But I'm going to say this. They got to get a better pass rush. They're getting pressure. Will Anderson Jr. gets great pressure, but they have the fewest sacks in the NFL. Okay. Which is amazing because usually they're +6 in turnover differential, tied for second. Usually when you're that good in turnover differential, you're getting sacks and strip sacks, and they're not. So Will Anderson Jr. and Jonathan Grenard got to get to Bryce Young, not just to put pressure on him, but get him down. They have to do their part on defense to make sure that Bryce Young does not outplay C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, they need to pulverize Bryce Young. Bryce Young needs to feel this game afterwards in his tiny little bird frame. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Sparrow, a sparrow. Yes. That's terrible.
A hummingbird. All right.
Coming from two guys on a soda weight loss program.
No kidding. Hey, that's right. If Will can't get him on the ground, you and I will come in and do the Yokozuna bonsai drop on him. There you go. There's a lot less of us to love now, people, just so you know, than there was for me a few years ago and for John a few months ago. All right, my first one here in the 6-pack, number 2 overall, is the Texans, the wide receiving core, but particularly the return of Tank Dell. Tank Dell's coming back this week. Of course, he was concussed in the Atlanta game. He missed the New Orleans game. They knew he'd be good to go for this game, especially with the bye week in between. I think having Tank Dell back there is he's the one guy that really opens things up for the Texans. He gets open himself. And this is a horrible, horrible Panthers secondary when it comes to covering wide receivers. They have among the worst stats in the league when it comes to passer rating and yardage generated. Passer rating, targeting wide receivers, and yardage generated by wide receivers per game. The Panthers are among the worst in the league. And, John, these are their backups. The Panthers secondary is in the same condition the Texans offensive line was like 2 weeks into the season. They are playing street guys right now. So C.J. Stroud should be able to light it up throwing to Nico Collins and Tank Dell on Sunday. So that's my first one. I think this could be a fireworks display passing-wise for the Texans.
The offensive line has got to control Brown and Burns, who are two really good pass rushers from inside and outside. Say this about the receivers. We were worried about it so much early. Besides Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Noah Brown came back last week, had a 31-yard catch. Yep. Dalton Schultz is now making big catches in every game, especially down the middle. Xavier Hutchinson carried twice on reverses that Tank Dell was doing, and he ran them better than Tank Dell. So I think Ben McDaniels, the wide receivers coach, is doing a terrific job with these guys, and then Bobby Slowick's making good calls for them. So I think they'll get the ball to Tank as a runner and as a passer, and I would send him deep right off the bat to make sure the Panthers know he's capable of doing that.
I like that. I like where your head's at on that, John. What's your next one in the 6-pack here?
2 weeks to prepare because of the bye week. The running game has not been good. It's actually better than it was this time last year. I looked it up. About 3 yards better, even though it's terrible. Wow. And so I think with 2 weeks to get ready, we're going to see Dameon Pierce have his best game. Devin Singletary will have another good game after the last one in which he was the leading rusher. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see the running game going against the 31st run defense. They're giving up 140, I think, 7 yards a game on the ground. They have to be able to run against the Panthers. They're going to have an intact offensive line for the third week in a row, I believe. Who's playing left guard?
For the Texans?
Yeah. Is Josh Jones? No, Titus. I'm sorry.
It's been Titus, yeah.
Yeah. So I keep thinking, would they put Josh Jones there like they did at one point, move Titus back to right tackle? But if they keep it the way it was with Titus and Fant, it's third week in a row. So they're getting some continuity. So I look for the running game to be best at any time this season.
Okay. So, John, if my prediction with my first 6-pack entry comes true, and yours just now comes true, the Texans are going to basically put up about 700 yards on the Panthers.
Throw the ball for about 40 minutes.
Yeah. You've got them with $150 rushing, and I've got CJ throwing for 300 in a fireworks display. So they're going to get And he could too. They could get 450, 500 yards of offense against this defense. It's not a good defense, this Panthers.
Wouldn't that be
defense.
fun to watch?
Oof, you got that right, my friend. All right, my next one, John, the Texans linebacking crew, and particularly covering tight ends. They've been among the worst in the league in covering tight ends so far this season. We saw it probably most magnified against the Falcons in week 5, where their tight ends went for, I think, 14 catches for $175. They couldn't stop Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts. Michael Pruitt even got involved with a play in that game. And then last week they got eaten up by Taysom Hill, in kind of, short yardage, move the chain situation. So the Texans linebacking crew, I've been telling people all week, like if Hayden Hurst is available on your fantasy free agency wire, pick him up, because if the trend holds, Hayden Hurst of the Panthers is going to have his best game of the year, because the Texans give up a ton of yards and catches. And I think part of that probably, John, is the bend but don't break philosophy. That interior, that middle part of the field, D'Amico has typically left open in his defense, because D'Amico seems perfectly happy giving up 7 or 8 yard catches if it means that the safeties and the linebackers get to abuse a guy in that kill zone right there. The problem for the Texans is that they haven't been able to contain that position the last couple of weeks. The tight ends have been making those intermediate catches, but they've been productive plays. So control the tight end, because I think this is a wide receiver wise. I think this is a group that the Texans can control in the secondary, but don't let the tight ends beat you in this game.
They better at some point. Now, teams move the ball down the field. The Texans have given up 18.8 points a game. That's 7th in the NFL. They also are 11th in red zone defense. They're still awful in red zone offense. But so they do give up yards, but then they get so much better when they get closer to the end zone. My next one is going to be special teams, because even though you'd like to think they blow them out like they did in Jacksonville, it's more likely to come down to the end and have a chance to win it with a field goal by Kaimi Fairbairn, who's been fantastic. He's only missed 1 field goal this season. He's perfect on extra points. I think, again, because of problems in the red zone on offense, he's going to have a lot of field goal opportunities, and he's going to have a chance to be the difference in the game. You said the spread now is up to 3.5 points. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it doesn't come down to a Fairbairn kick. They have an advantage in the kicking game. Their opponents' punt returns, and this includes Ty Zettner, opponents' punt returns are only 4.8 yards, which makes the Texans second in the NFL. So they're not giving up field position on punts, and that has a lot to do with Frank Ross and his strategy. So I think special teams in general and kicking game in particular.
I just checked. It's actually down to 3 now, the spread on the game. So that half point's a big half point in a game that could get decided by 3 points. So Texans a 3-point favorite as of 24 minutes into this podcast here. My last one, John, is not necessarily a player or a position group. I'm just anxious to see how the Texans come out in this game in the first quarter and what their energy level is in this game. And here's why. This is the first time, as you pointed out, or had me point out a few minutes ago, this is new territory for the Houston Texans and this group of Texans, where they're the ones with the target on their back. They're the favorite in this game, and they're the favorite in what hostile environment, maybe overstating it. I don't know if Carolina is viewed as one of those places it's really hard to go play, but it is a road game. So it's a road game. They're favored in this game. They've had a whole bye week to sit there and if they're on the internet, read about how surprisingly awesome they've been over the last 4 weeks of the season. I'm very intrigued to see how the Texans handle the plethora of press clippings that are available out there for them to read about how good they've been so far this year, because the human tendency is that when you read that stuff, it injects complacency. So how well does D'Amico Ryans do, handling the bye week and the extra time to prepare? Hopefully that manifests itself in the run game, like you said, that they fixed some technical things with the team. But how has he managed those 2 weeks with this team in terms of motivation and making sure that they're full? I'm optimistic that it's going to look good. D'Amico strikes me as a guy who has his team's attention first and foremost, and is a very good communicator. So I'm optimistic it'll be good. I'm just intrigued because it's been a long time since we've been in this sort of territory with this group of Texans.
They should be 4-2. They should have won that game in Atlanta. There's no reason they shouldn't win this game in Carolina. They have committed the fewest turnovers in the NFL, thanks to C.J. Stroud. And even though they don't get a lot of turnovers, that's why they're +6. I'll tell you something. that you can look up, not right now, but I'll be interested in is, okay, we know the last time they were favored on the road and what happened. When's the last time they were favored on the road and covered?
The
I'm
3
guessing
weeks.
2019.
No. 3 weeks before that, they were favored Thanksgiving Day in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
They were
I
favored
didn't
by a field
realize
goal.
they were favored. That was that game. Watson was just fantastic.
Yeah, well, John, and that was the game. J.J. Watt had a pick six in that game also. Like, that's what's weird about that season. It just goes to show you, like, and you can see why Bill O'Brien got fired. He got fired 4 games into that season. But that was a team, the Texans, that even though at that juncture in the season, when they're playing Detroit on Thanksgiving Day and they're playing Chicago in Week 14, I mean, at that point, the Texans are probably 4-7 or 4-8 or maybe 3-7 on the season, because I think that was their 4th win, that Detroit game. They were still getting the level of respect that they're a favorite on the. You're a favorite on the road against anybody, and you're 3 or 4 games below 500 in November, then clearly there's an issue going on with the coaching, because they don't view your talent level as one that should be losing all these games. But yeah, it was, to answer your question, long way to answer your question, but it was 3 weeks before that on Thanksgiving Day in Detroit. They were favored and they won 41-25.
They don't give a damn about covering in Carolina. They just want to win.
John, I'll tell you this before we get to our for real or fugazi. We had Kyle Bailey on our show this morning. Seth and I did. Kyle does the afternoon show on WFNZ in Charlotte. That's our sister station, our Audacy station in Charlotte. And Kyle's a great host. I was on his show yesterday, and he was with us this morning. And I asked him, the very last question I asked him, John, I said, would Panther fans rather have Bryce Young throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a losing effort, or have Carolina win the game? He didn't even let me finish the question. He's like, yeah, the Bryce Young. Yes, we just want Bryce Young to look good. We don't care if we win the game, because it doesn't impact them. They don't have their, like the winning and losing thing. Like they're not going to make the playoffs. There's no incentive. There's no incentive to lose, I guess, because Chicago has their pick. So the whole winning and losing thing for them is kind of, they just need Bryce Young. They just need to feel like they have a quarterback, and so they're not as focused on a win in this game as they are making sure. They'd rather have Bryce Young win the personal battle with C.J. Stroud than the Panthers win the game against the Texans.
Yeah, Stroud would obviously give up that personal battle for another win.
Stroud would throw for 112 yards and 3 picks if the Texans won the game 13-12.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? 100%. That's what I love about him. All right. What's your prediction on the game, John?
I'm picking the Texans to win this game 23-20.
I think they're going to score 30 points in this game. I'm going to go.
I hope you're right. Jacksonville all over again.
I think they're going to score a lot of points, John. I think this is a secondary that can be had, and I think the extra week off, to your point, is going to help the running game. So I'm going to say I'm going to go 31-19.
Ooh, I hope you're right. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. Whole lot of fun. Then 4-3 going into a home game against the Bucs, and then we're done with the
lost to the Bills.
Yeah. And then we're done with the NFC South, and now it's all AFC games the rest of the way. That's crazy fun. All right. You ready to do some for real or fugazis, my friend?
I sure am.
Okay. We do this every Thursday episode. We do a segment called For Real or Fugazi. For real, of course, you guys know what that means. Fugazi is Italian for fake, counterfeit. Can be used as a synonym for wrong in this case, because what I do is I read a sentence to John, and if John agrees with it, then he says, for real. If John disagrees with it, or he thinks I'm silly or being stupid or whatever, he says,
fugazi.
And he says it just like that, too. It's very entertaining.
Fugazi.
Fugazi, yeah.
So fugazi.
Yeah. You got to do the, hey, this guy. He's a looking guy, yeah. All right, so I've got 6 of them here, John. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay. John, the Houston Texans are 3-3. Their rookie class obviously is a big catalyst for the improvement with this team. For real or fugazi, if there was an odds board for executive of the year, Nick Caserio would be in the top 5 right now.
For real. I think it's making the previous 2 drafts are looking pretty good as well. It's amazing when you get good coaching. I think that is definitely for real.
Yep, for real. Yeah. And Nick obviously had a hand in hiring D'Amico Ryan. So that's, so it's not even anything where they brought this guy in and now all of Nick's guys look good. He's brought the guy in who's developing all these guys. Now, I'm with you on that. And it's crazy to think, John, like when that Derek Stingley hamstring injury
Get
hit
him
in
out
week
of
2,
here.
yeah, everybody wanted, and they were 0-2. Winning cures everything. You're absolutely
Isn't
right.
that amazing how that works?
It's really funny. Yeah, it's wild. All right. Speaking of which, John, another Casario one here for you. I guess indirectly or directly, maybe. Um, Trade deadlines coming up on Tuesday next week. For those who don't know, and there's still a lot of big names floating around out there who are rumored to be on the move eventually. Here, for real or fugazi, the Texans will make a trade as a buyer before the trade deadline next Tuesday.
Whew, boy, I'm going to say that's for real. I don't think
Okay.
it'll be a splash. Nick's got a lot of low picks. He likes to trade and swap out. I'm guessing there's going to be a player gets hurt. If they were just healthy, if they get Stingley back, if Tavier Thomas is ready to come back, they got all those corners. Players have played well in their plays, just like they got by with the linemen. I don't think, would he bring in another linebacker? Somebody could actually cover. I don't know. There's not going to be a pass rusher available, and because people just don't trade them. So I think he'll make a move. I just don't think it'll be something where people go, "Oh man, that's great. He got that guy."
Yeah, I could see. I could definitely see him bringing something in the front seven defensively, like another defensive lineman, or I know the run defense has improved. The interior of the defensive line is still, to me, like it's still shit. We love Big Heine, John, but when Big Heine is your number 3 defensive lineman in a rotation in there in the middle, like there's probably improvements available out there. So, and they're getting Hassan Ridgeway back in this game too, so that'll help quite a bit.
They'll have four. They'll be 4 deep there, but if they could find somebody better, of course they'd go after him.
All right, next one, Texans related. Last one, Texans related, I think, here, because I've got a few NFL and I got one baseball for you. Kyler Murray is healthy again. He's active. He's practicing. He's back. Kyler Murray's return, for real or fugazi, changes your prediction for who wins Arizona versus Houston at NRG Stadium in Week 11.
Easy. I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Cardinals. That's the game before the season. We thought they were going to win. I don't care if Kyler Murray's back or not. The Texans are going to win that game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It makes it more interesting for sure. Like Kyler being back, and I think just like if I'm a Cardinal fan, I really wonder what Cardinal fans are rooting for with Kyler Murray. Like if they're legit rooting for him to win games, or if they've been so conditioned this offseason to believe that we're the ones who are going to get Caleb Williams. I can tell you right now, the Texans are not cooperating with them in that endeavor. I think they thought they were going to have 2 of the top 5 picks in the draft, and it's not looking that way right now.
I think they definitely are interested in Caleb Williams or Drake May. Looks like the Bears will end up with one since they've got their pick and Carolina's pick. And Kyler Murray, D'Amico Ryans knows him very well.
Yes, shared a division with him for a few years. Absolutely. Good point. All right, John. We know that one of the big stories going on right now is the scandal at the University of Michigan with stealing signs during college football games the last couple years via iPhone, filming team signals, and then basically having the answers to the test reportedly on the sidelines, including against C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. Remember him? For real or fugazi, this scandal is what will eventually drive Jim Harbaugh from college football back to the NFL.
I think that's for real. And anybody thinks he doesn't know about it, a control freak like Harbaugh, all this going on behind his back, there's no way he didn't know what was going on. I saw a great meme in which they had that guy, what's his name, the captain that was doing
he's got a great name. Connor Stallions.
Stallions,
Yeah.
that he's sitting behind an obstructed view where he can't see anything but the post, and it says Stallions Scouting TCU. It was great.
Dude, what a name, right? Connor
Stallions.
Connor Stallions. Connor Stallions, definitely not an interior decorator. I promise you that. All right. 2 more, John. One more football and then a baseball one. Brock Purdy is in the concussion protocol right now. It doesn't look like he's going to play this weekend, which means it's Sam Darnold time. John, for real or fugazi, this is the beginning of the Sam Darnold redemption tour.
Fugazi. I think Darnold will play well and he'll win, but Brock Purdy will be the quarterback the next week. Turns out, remember the stat we were talking about on Tank Dell about guys coming back and not coming back.
Yeah.
I saw a stat this week. It said not one person that went in the protocol so far this year has played in the next game. So they were using it about Brock Purdy, why the odds are he just won't play.
Yeah.
But Kyle Shanahan loves him. He was struggling in that last game, played terribly in the fourth quarter, I believe. As soon as he's ready, and they think it'll be the following week, he'll be back in the lineup. But if Sam Darnold plays well and they win, he's on a 1-year deal. I believe that would help him next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be the beginning of the Sam Darnold redemption tour and
I
have
do
it be the
too.
only start that he has this year for the 49ers. So, so there you go. All right, so we may see some Sam Darnold this weekend. Last
Remember,
one.
Shanahan wanted him over Trey Lance for a
That's
reason.
right. Yep, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, good point. Really good point. All right, last one, John. We know that the Astros are going to be looking for a new manager here shortly. We know that according to Brian McTaggart, Dana Brown will be involved in it, the GM, but it sounds like Jim Crane and special advisor to Jim Crane and the baseball ops folks, Jeff Bagwell, will be involved in the process. For real or fugazi, Jeff Bagwell's involvement in the selection of the next Astros manager should have Houston fans very concerned.
I think that's for real. You know, he was behind.
That hurts you, John, because he's your favorite Astro.
He's my all-time favorite Astro. Yep. I respect his opinion. People treat him like he's been terrible for the organization because he was so positive about Jose Abreu. Yeah. And in September and October, he could have stood up and given it this to everybody that criticized him, but Abreu deserved it. Yeah. And people are saying he was behind Montero and Javier and all those deals like that. We don't know that. No. We don't know. All we know is Crane trusts his opinion. He trusts the opinion of Reggie Jackson. 2 Hall of Famers, advisors. Now, a lot of people say they're old. You shouldn't be listening to old people. They don't care about analytics. No, they still have an analytics department. And if they get a new manager who is all about the analytics, like say A.J. Hinch was, will a guy like that come here? I'm guessing he won't.
Yeah, probably not. John, do you think we should be listening to old people?
Well, I am an old person. Thank God people still want to listen to me.
There you go. That's what I wanted to hear, John. That's the correct answer to the question.
You're not an old person yet.
I'm getting there. I'm rapidly closing the gap right now. So that's it. Those are our for real or fugazis. John, we are done. We are finished with this podcast, and it is on to the Panthers and the Texans on Sunday. And I will see you tonight at the Yellow Rose Distillery for our whiskey talk out there.
I'll be there when I get off Texans radio, and then we'll be back on our podcast after the game on Sunday.
Looking forward to it. John, I enjoyed it as always.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. John McClain, the great John McClain, and of course, the great James Jackson as well, our producer who gets this podcast out to all of you in such a timely fashion and carves up those YouTube video clips that we post on social as well. James does a great job, so kudos to him for getting this podcast to you. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you're getting the podcast automatically and that you don't have to search it out every time. You can get it automatically by subscribing. We appreciate you doing that, and it's going to get to be more and more fun as the Texans win more and more games, and it's feeling like that is a strong possibility here over the next several weeks. So for James Jackson, for John McClain, I'm Sean Pendergast. We are out of time. We will talk to all of you on Sunday evening following what is hopefully a Texans win against the Panthers in Charlotte. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.